Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And this is going to be a review of last night's edition of Dynamite, which was the September 30th edition. And Dynamite from last night, I thought it was a solid show. I actually watched it this morning, but liked Dynamite last night. We had Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks. The AEW World Tag Team Championship was on the line. FTR versus SCU in a 20-minute time limit match. We had Jericho versus Isaiah Cassidy. Cody ended up coming out to see if he wants to accept Brodie Lee's challenge and faced Brodie Lee in the dog collar match. We also saw Britt Baker end up returning after her tooth and nail match at All Out. And then in the main event, we saw Moxley versus The Butcher, where the AEW World Championship was on the line. But overall, Dynamite was a solid show. So, going to get right into the Dynamite review. So, Dynamite kicked off last night with Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin. And this was a very good match. Really enjoyed this match between Starks and Darby Allin. Taz was on commentary here because Tony Schiavone was going to be interviewing FTR. So it was just Taz, Jim Ross, and Excalibur. And of course, Taz, was Ricky Starks' manager along with Brian Cage. So the match started off with Darby Allin end up working on Ricky Starks' wrist. And Starks was on the apron. Darby Allin ended up trying to bring Starks into the ring. And they both counter suplexes. There was a point in the match where Darby Allin and Ricky Starks were on the ring apron. Darby Allin ended up delivering a suplex to Ricky Starks on the ring apron, of course, which is the hardest part of the ring. So Starks went to the floor. Darby Allin then ended up landing a big suicide dive to Ricky Starks. And then we saw Brian Cage. He ended up coming out. Will Hobbs then ended up running out. And both him and Cage started battling to the back. And they just, I guess Will Hobbs wanted Ricky Starks and Darby Allin just to be a one-on-one match and not have Brian Cage interfere. And I'm like, we saw Brian Cage tonight, but I'm like, where was he last week? We didn't see Brian Cage last week. But then Darby Allin ended up going back to the ring. He ended up pulling Ricky Starks, and he ended up yanking him up from the ring apron. And at the end of the match, you had Starks end up putting Darby Allin on the top turnbuckle. Darby Allin ended up countering it, and he booted Ricky Starks off. Darby Allin ended up going to the top and delivered a coffin drop to Starks' back. So Darby Allin then went for the pin. There you go. Darby Allin ended up winning the match. Overall, very good match from these guys. Very intense match between them. And then after that, we saw the American Nightmare, Cody. Cody ended up heading to the ring. Dasha was going to interview him if Cody ended up accepting Brodie Lee's challenge for the dog collar match. So Dasha ended up asking Cody about his injury and how he's feeling. Cody ended up saying that his trainer, Al Snow, said to him that you always wrestle hurt, but never wrestle injured. Cody ended up saying about how before the pandemic, wrestlers always shook hands because it was a sign of respect. He then brought up how he was on that marquee, but then lost in 3 minutes. He ended up saying that shortly after he got a call from Hollywood, and he's sitting next to some big names on a new show. Cody ended up wondering, who am I? I'm just a guy who lost in 3 minutes. And Cody ended up saying that while he's been gone, he's listened to what's been going on. He ended up saying that the only people who could call themselves the ace of the company is either Hikaru Shida, Moxley, or Brodie Lee. So then Dasha then ended up asking if Cody accepts Brodie Lee's challenge for the dog collar match, to have this dog collar match. Cody ended up saying that a match as brutal as that is, and he's saying as one of the EVPs of the company, so he ended up giving his answer to Brodie Lee. And his answer was no. So then we heard, some boos from the town and also people who were in the stands in the crowd at Daly's place. So Cody ended up heading to the stage. He then stops on the stage, comes back into the ring, and Cody ended up saying no, as in no regrets. Cody ended up saying next week, I accept. So Cody ended up accepting Brodie Lee's challenge to the dog collar match for next week. And then Brodie Lee came out. Brodie Lee then headed out to the ring, and him and Cody started brawling, and officials ended up coming out to separate Cody and Brodie Lee. And you had the talent come over the barricades, try to break them up. And it was a crazy brawl between Cody and Brodie Lee. Cody's wife, of course, Brandy, ended up coming out. And we saw Brandy end up delivering a big senton off the top. And she delivered that senton and took out a bunch of Dark Order guys. So that was pretty cool. And then we saw Anna Jay. Anna Jay came out. Her and Brandy started fighting for a little bit. Anna Jay and Brandy were being separated by other, women talent on there. So then we saw Brodie Lee end up heading to the back. But he ended up running back out, and him and Cody went at it again. It was a big brawl. So now Brodie ended up heading to the back once again, came back out, and then the brawl kept on continuing. So it was a really crazy brawl. Very good hype for this dog collar match between him and Cody for next week. So that's going to be a pretty good match between Brodie and Cody next week. That dog collar match. Looking forward to it. But it was a pretty good segment from Cody. With him saying, no regrets. Next week, I accept. You could tell that he's ready to go and to kick Brodie Lee's ass. So then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was backstage. He was interviewing FTR. Of course, FTR was alongside Tully Blanchard. Tony Schiavone ended up bringing up how FTR were supposed to wrestle the best friends, Chucky T and Trent, and how it didn't work. We'll end up saying that best friends are participation trophy guys, and they just don't deserve a match with them. Dax Harwood was asked by Tony Schiavone about how the Young Bucks and having a match with them. And I said this quite a few times. If we see FTR and the Bucks in a match, that will be without a doubt one of the best matches of the year. If it's going to happen this year, like in December, towards the end of the year, or going into the new year, 2021, without a doubt, that's going to be one of the best matches between, with FTR and the Bucks when AEW decides to do it at the right time. But that's going to be a very exciting match, in my opinion, whenever that happens. And I know a lot of people, and I know me and a lot of other people in the IWC and here in the YWC, would want to see that. It's a dream match to see FTR and the Bucks. So Harwood ended up bringing up how the Bucks have had their shot, but they have continuously blown their opportunities. So Tony Schiavone ended up going to X about their opponents for Full Gear. And Tony ended up getting super kicked by the Bucks because it was like a double super kick that was laid to Tony Schiavone. So the Bucks ended up not even acknowledging FTR. So I'm like, oh, why? So FTR was like, oh, why'd you kick Tony Schiavone? You should have super kicked us. We're here. But that was that. And then we went to Dasha. Dasha was interviewing SCU, Scorpio Sky, and Frankie Kazarian. And Christopher Daniels was also with them. So Dasha was talking with SCU about the AEW World Tag Team Championship match against FTR. Frankie Kazarian ended up saying that they're going to become the AEW World Tag Team Champions for the second time. So then we saw Shawn Spears. He was standing off to the side. And Shawn Spears ended up saying, good luck, sarcastically. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had FTR versus SCU, AEW World Tag Team Championship on the line. 20-minute time limit match, which this match was a very entertaining tag team match. Hangman Adam Page was on commentary, along with Excalibur, Taz, and Jim Ross. Hangman Adam Page had a whiskey on him. He was drinking the whiskey. And Jim Ross ended up bringing up how Kenny Omega is focusing on his singles career. He was talking to Hangman Adam Page about that. And he ended up wondering if that's what Page is going to be doing too. And so Page ended up saying that he still has a vested interest in the tag team division. And he doesn't think Kenny Omega is serious about going back to him being a singles competitor. So the match got underway. Scorpio Sky ended up landing a drop kick to Hardwood. Wheeler ended up running the ropes. And he ended up tripping Scorpio Sky. And they ended up tossing Christopher Daniels to the back because the referee didn't see that. The referee didn't see Wheeler tripping Scorpio Sky. And so Christopher Daniels got thrown out for no reason because he didn't attack. He didn't attack, Harwood. So Page then ended up asking Christopher Daniels on, Page was on commentary. He ended up asking Christopher Daniels to get him another drink, which I thought was funny. So Scorpio Sky ended up delivering a crossbody, which sent both FTR out to the floor. Kazarian ended up, hitting FTR. Scorpio Sky was able to get a flip onto a big flip onto FTR. We had Scorpio Sky end up getting dropped by Cash Wheeler out to the floor. And at the end of the match, you had, just like last week, where we had Scorpio Sky end up delivering a suplex on Wheeler. And he rolls to the ring apron. Tully end up sweeping Scorpio Sky's leg. Wheeler end up falling down on Scorpio Sky. And when I said, just like last week, we saw Tully and Dax Harwood holding on to Scorpio Sky's foot. Held Scorpio Sky's foot down. And the referee ended up counting to 3. So there you go. Tully and Dax end up helping Wheeler, so they could retain, so FTR could retain the World Tag Team titles. So there you go. FTR ended up winning. All in all, very entertaining tag team match. Really liked it. So then on commentary, they end up announcing that in 8-man tournament. It's going to be elimination. It's going to be singles elimination. And the finals will take place at Full Gear. So the winner of that tournament will get a shot at the World Championship. And so they then announced 3 names who are going to be in this tournament. So those 3 names were Jungle Boy, Ray Phoenix, and Kenny Omega. So those are the 3 guys who are going to be in this 8-man tournament. Jungle Boy, Phoenix, and Kenny Omega. So pretty good there. And then we had Jericho versus Isaiah Cassidy. Jericho, of course, came out along with the Inner Circle, Santana, Ortiz, Hager, and Guevara. Isaiah Cassidy, of course, came out along with Mark Quinn and Matt Hardy. Of course, Hardy Party, as what, I'll still call them, as what Matt Hardy and Private Party end up calling themselves. How about we call us, Hardy Party? I wish they would give him that name, with Matt Hardy managing Private Party. Just have them be called Hardy Party. So Matt Hardy was standing at ringside with a chair. He was staring at the Inner Circle. And Jericho and Cassidy were in the ring. The match started with Jericho ended up slapping away at Cassidy, shoving Cassidy into the corner. So Jericho then ended up turning his back, and he got dropped by Cassidy. Cassidy delivered a bunch of clotheslines to Jericho. He was throwing punches at Jericho's face. And then Cassidy went for an early pin on Jericho. Jericho ended up kicking out. So then Jericho then ended up on the floor. And so Jericho got into it with Luther, who was sitting, ringside along with the other talent. So Luther ended up knocking Jericho down. So Luther and Jericho got into it. Cassidy delivered a flip to Jericho. He then sent Jericho into the ring and hit a senton onto Jericho. So then at the end of the match, Jericho ended up delivering the Judas Effect to Cassidy. Cassidy was knocked out. Jericho went for the cover, and there you go. He won the match. But post-match, you had the Inner Circle. They end up trying to strike at Cassidy. But Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn end up getting into the ring. They end up chasing off the Inner Circle. Jericho and Hager was then shown swinging away at Luther and Serpentico. So Jericho and Hager got into it with Luther and Serpentico, aka Chaos Project, and they got into it before heading up to the stage. And Jake Hager's the bridge of his nose was a little bit bloodied up. So, we saw that. But overall, Jericho versus Isaiah Cassidy, it was an okay match. Then we saw Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian was with Miro about wanting to have a epic bachelor party. Miro ends up talking with someone about one to make this bachelor party the best party ever. So Kip Sabian and Miro, they're playing a bunch of games. Of course, Sabian and Miro are both on Twitch, playing games. They're Twitchers. So Sabian ends up stepping out. And then we see this guy, Billy Mitchell, who is a game record holder. I guess he has a big record in playing video games. I don't know much about him though, but he ended up stepping in. He was alongside with Miro. Actually liked Miro's hat that he was wearing. It was a Ninja Turtles. And Mitchell ended up saying that he knows some people. He ends up telling Miro that he knows some people that could help throw this party. Well, throw a wild party. So pretty much that was basically that. So there you go. Kip Sabian wants to have a epic bachelor party. And he wants Miro to make it the best party ever. And then we saw Dasha. She was interviewing the best friends, Chucky T and Trent. Of course, alongside freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, which of course he was in action tonight. Which he was in action on Dynamite last night, taking on 10 of the Dark Order, which is the match that was happening after their interview. So Dasha was talking with them about where they're at mentally with how things went last week with FTR. FTR ended up stepping in. They ended up saying that they saved the best friends from having a match. They ended up saying that some teams are way high up on the card, like the champs, of course, FTR, and that there's nothing wrong with being comedic mid-carders. So FTR goes to walk away. The best friends act like they're going to fight FTR. You have FTR flinching, like the best friends were going to hit the hell out of them. So they were cowering. Orange Cassidy then took the mic, and he ended up calling Harwood and Wheeler weenies, which I thought was funny. And so then the best friends made their way out along with Orange Cassidy. They made their way out because Cassidy, of course, had the match along with, he's facing 10 of the Dark Order. But we had the match, Cassidy versus 10. Match was meh, in my opinion. It was an easy win for Orange Cassidy here. So Cassidy ended up delivering a orange punch and then a beach break to 10 of the Dark Order. There you go. Orange Cassidy ended up winning. But out there alongside 10, you had John Silver, 5, and Colt Cabana, which with Colt Cabana in the Dark Order, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this. I mean, it's my prediction, but every time I see Colt Cabana alongside the Dark Order, the more I see Colt Cabana alongside the Dark Order, the more I feel he's so out of place with with the Dark Order. He just doesn't fit there. And I know I said one time, oh, Colt Cabana, he's just with the Dark Order. Maybe, he's just, trying to think that, maybe he's part of the Dark Order and he could trick the Dark Order and then it will lead to like a match. Possibly Colt Cabana having a match with Brody Lee. But I don't know. But the more I see Colt Cabana out there with the Dark Order, the more he feels so out of place with them. He just doesn't fit with them, in my opinion. So Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match. Overall, the match was meh, in my opinion. Like I said, it was an easy win for Orange Cassidy. And then we went backstage. MJF ended up heading into Jericho's locker room along with Wardlow. Jericho looked surprised that MJF, walked into his room. Because Jericho, of course, was partying with the rest of the Inner Circle. MJF said that he has some gifts for Jericho and the Inner Circle. So MJF ended up saying that he has Inner Circle jackets for each guy of the Inner Circle. So he had jackets for Jericho, for Hager, for Ortiz, for Santana. But MJF forgot a jacket for Sammy Guevara. So MJF ended up asking Wardlow, what's the deal? Did you get a jacket for Guevara, for Sammy? So MJF then ended up apologizing to Sammy. And Sammy was like, all right, MJF, what are you doing here? Jericho ended up saying that he asked MJF a long time ago if he wanted to join the Inner Circle. Because, of course, MJF noted previously that he's looking to join a stable. But MJF ended up laughing. And he ended up saying that he asked Jericho a long time ago if Jericho wants MJF to join the Inner Circle. So MJF and Jericho, they bicker, back and forth for a bit. Hager and Wardlow, step alongside their guys. Jericho ended up saying to MJF that everything is cool. MJF ended up saying that it's amazing that Jericho has been in wrestling for 30 years. And the reason why MJF brought that up is because next week's Dynamite, they're going to be celebrating Jericho's 30 years in this sport. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. Jericho really deserves that honor. So MJF ended up saying that it's been a legendary run for Jericho, with him being in this sport for 30 years. So MJF and Wardlow leave Jericho's room. Sammy Guevara went on to say, "What a loser." So then Jericho ended up stopping Sammy Guevara, and he ended up saying, "Perhaps he's not. Perhaps MJF is not a loser." So that was that. But I don't know. To me, this MJF Jericho thing, maybe MJF, wants to join the Inner Circle, or possibly they might be teasing maybe a match with MJF and Jericho. Who knows? But that's what my prediction is, though. Because MJF could be in the Inner Circle. He could go into the Inner Circle if he wants to, or maybe him and Jericho might be having a match sometime down the line. But we'll have to wait and see. And then we saw the return of Britt Baker. Britt Baker made a return to the ring after her tooth and nail match at All Out with Big Swole, which that match was pretty okay at All Out. I like the way how it was filmed, but Big Swole ended up coming off with the win, defeating Britt Baker at All Out. So Britt Baker ended up taking on Red Velvet. And the match was just meh, in my opinion. Wasn't that good of a match. Britt Baker and Red Velvet ended up starting off the match with wrist locks. They both traded wrist locks, Baker and Red Velvet. Baker looked to go for a pin, which Red Velvet ended up kicking out. Baker ended up delivering a submission, which rolled Red Velvet over. Red Velvet ended up kicking out. And at the end of the match, you had Britt Baker win the match. And Baker ended up landing a super kick and then a neck breaker and then stomp to Red Velvet. So there you go. Britt Baker ended up winning. Post-match, Reba, who of course was alongside Britt Baker, Reba ended up giving a black glove to Baker, which Baker then ended up locking in the lockjaw to Red Velvet. So that was basically that. But overall, match wasn't that good. And then the commentators, of course, was stating what we're going to see on next week's Dynamite. Of course, the Jericho's 30-year celebration, which pretty much is the highlight for next week's Dynamite. And Jericho is going to be in the match. Jericho and Hager are going to be in the match next week. And they're going to be taking on Chaos Project, Luther, and Serpentico after the events that we saw earlier in the night. And then Brian Cage is going to be taking on Will Hobbs, and the FTW Championship is going to be on the line. So that's going to be a pretty good match there. And then, of course, Brody Lee versus Cody, dog collar match. The TNT Championship is going to be on the line. So I'm really looking forward to that. So we got a stacked show for Dynamite next week. And then we had Eddie Kingston came out. Eddie Kingston came out to the ring with a referee. We had Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix also out there. Kingston got on the mic, and he ended up talking about last week's match with Moxley, and that he was put in a bulldog choke, and that he didn't tap out. He passed out. So Kingston ended up saying that Moxley was so bothered by the end of the match that he wanted to fight anyone. Kingston ended up saying that he doesn't feel up to a rematch, so he'll be picking Moxley's opponent. So that's good. We don't need to see Kingston and Moxley go at it again. It's this. They don't want to be. This is not WWE. Shit here where we see a rematch. After take for instance Asuka and Zelina Vega, Clash of Champions. We saw the match. The next night on Monday Night Raw this week, we saw a rematch. So AEW, they're not being like WWE here, where we got to see another rematch with Kingston and Moxley. So that's smart on their end. So he then ended up asking Bryce, who was the referee that was with him. He then asked Bryce what gave him the balls to call the match like that. Bryce ended up telling Kingston that he was unresponsive and that what else was he going to do? So we had Kingston, Pentagon, and Phoenix look like they were going to beat up on Bryce. Moxley ended up making his way out. He made his way through the stands of Daly's place, and he made his way out, and he was holding a barbed wire bat. So Moxley got into the ring. Kingston, Pentagon, and Phoenix end up retrieving out. Kingston got on the mic once again. He ended up saying, "Oh, cut the world champion's music." Kingston then ended up saying that Moxley is going to be fighting Phoenix or Pentagon. So the Butcher was behind Moxley. So Moxley turns around. Butcher ends up delivering a lariat to Moxley. And then the match got underway. Moxley versus the Butcher. The AEW World Championship on the line. This was the main event. And this match was okay. Wasn't great or perfect by any means, though. But we had Moxley looking to go for a running knee to the Butcher, but he ended up getting planted by Butcher. Butcher ended up delivering chops to Moxley's chest. Moxley ended up fighting back with forearms. He then took another lariat and then a knee drop. And Butcher got back. He ended up taking control, and he was working on Moxley's leg to slow him down. Moxley then delivered the neck breaker to Butcher and a kick to the chest. And then he went for the cross arm breaker. And then at the end of the match, you had Moxley end up delivering a DDT to the Butcher. And he went right into the Bulldog choke. He locked it in on the Butcher. Butcher ended up tapping out. So there you go. Moxley ended up winning the match, retaining the AEW World Championship. So that was that. And that was how Dynamite ended. Post-match, Moxley ended up celebrating. Kingston ended up storming around ringside. And he headed to the back. And that was how Dynamite went off the air. All in all, the match was okay. Wasn't great. But solid Dynamite last night. So really liked it. But I'm looking forward to Dynamite next week. Of course, with Jericho celebration of his 30 years in this sport. Brian Cage versus Will Hobbs for the FTW Championship. That's going to be, like I said, that's going to be a good match. And Brody Lee versus Cody. Looking forward to that with the dog collar match for the TNT Championship. So, Dynamite for next week. Looking to be a pretty good show there. Just by the card. Yes, anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up. Comment, subscribe. There won't be a SmackDown review tomorrow night. That will be up on Saturday. So be sure to look out for that on Saturday. But until then, I'll see you all later.